Good, very, very early morning if you're Cozzy and probably everybody else as well. But good morning. Post-match reaction from the Wolves Liverpool game. Literally a game of two halves. Couldn't see any way out in the first half, and then second half, a completely different ball game. And 3-1 win, and a special goal from a special getting very old lad. Cozzy, what was your thoughts on that game?
Man, yeah, as you say, game of two halves. Never has a saying been more apt than that game of football. For first half, it reminded me of last season where we just couldn't get going in games. I thought second best to every ball. But then the managers came on, done a couple of tactical changes, and just completely changed the game. I think the players have had a bit of a rocket, as we say in the in the UK kind of thing. They've had a rocket up the arse, and the managers let them know that this isn't good enough. But we kind of said at the start in the pre-match, what is this football team, Liverpool? Are we a serious outfit? We don't know. We had seen inconsistent performances, Chelsea and Bournemouth. Then we've seen us dominate a football game for the first time in, I felt like, ages, where we've actually went out and everything was perfect against Villa. What was it? Well, this team now has shown me that they have the balls and they have the fire for the fight, and that they want to go all the way and they want to try and compete for this league title. So, super impressive second half. Amazing. Mo Salah, mate, to walk off the pitch with 3 assists in a game where you barely had a touch in the first half is just, what a footballer.
I mean, we'll get down to like individual performances, but it wasn't, as an attacker and a goal scorer, it wasn't Salah's best game, but he's still involved and he's still somebody that every other team has to worry about. And then when you throw on Núñez and Diaz after half time, like, so you could see literally, I thought watching the game, you could literally see Wolves go, what the hell? come on, that's just not fair. And then just threw them all out of shape, and then the chances came.
Yes, mate. And, the manager makes a massive call after Gakpo scores there. I think that might be one of his biggest calls he's made in a while. I can remember anyway, just been a few, of course. But, to carry on with the subs and go, no, I'm still not happy. You know what I mean? Like every manager went, let's give it 5. Every single manager went, let's give this 5 or 10 and see how Wolves react. But where Klopp went now, the foot on the gas here, we're on top for these last 7-8 minutes. We've got the goal, and I'm going to keep that pressure on. It's a great move from the manager. I know a lot of us, were hard time with thinking, well, we can't play like a 4-2-2-2, I felt like. That's what it felt like to me, at least. I felt like Jones and Szoboszlai were kind of sat alongside each other. Yeah. And then it was Jota and Gakpo, then Salah, and, and that's what it felt like to me. So, interesting call from the manager, but brilliant, mate. Yeah, Wolves didn't know how to react. I thought Wolves just didn't know how to react. I thought they would have been kind of confused with it all. Diaz was kind of playing at like a number 10 at one point, and he was going to the left-hand side, and he was kind of a bit weird, and then Darwin to the left. And as you said, that's how teams are going to feel when you get these lads on. It's just not fair. We have the best attack in Europe, in my opinion, the best attack in Europe, and there's no one much better. Super impressed. I'm super happy for Gakpo, by the way, because I thought he was poor first half, and he hadn't scored this season. So that might now give him a little bit of confidence to go, he's got his goal kind of thing. So super happy for him.
Let's go back to the start. We were stupidly brave on Thursday with 2 of us out of 3 predicting a clean sheet, which obviously went out the window by the 6th minute. Now we could talk about the early games thing and all that, but this is something that happened last season where we just gifted teams that shouldn't have been gifted chances early on. Not just for technical reasons. It's like we're not preparing well enough in the warm-up or something. But it was, as you said, it was almost a shadow of last season, and you feared for the worst in the first 10 minutes, didn't you?
Definitely. I thought the manager got the starting lineup a little bit wrong, mate, to be honest, with the McAllister situation. The lads played in Bolivia 50 hours ago, and he started. I thought that was kind of naive from the manager, maybe. But listen, he only listened to a sports scientist as well who say he's fine. So, there is that part of it. When the game starts, I know Neto's excellent first half. When the game starts, I know people were kind of, looking at Gomez because he got done a few times by Neto. Listen, that can happen to Trent. That can happen to any fullback against that Neto, mate. He's a good player. And sometimes you just got to hold your hands up, haven't you, and go, Wolves played well. Do you know what I mean? Like, literally, Wolves played well. Why can't we, Liverpool fans are very particular like that. We always try and pick holes in certain things. But Wolves just played well. Neto does brilliantly. I thought Robertson was horrific for the goal. I really do. He actually, on the replay, he has a look, and he sees him. And he still, when the ball comes across the box, he still doesn't get tight to him. He could have played the ball for the start instead of letting Ganda go across him or behind him. And then still didn't get out tight enough to Hwang. That's why the goal, for me, mate, I don't know about you, but it kind of looked messy when it went in. Because I think Ali's kind of thinking, well, Robbo will cover this. Robbo will get a touch, will get closer for me. So when the ball comes through, I think Ali's kind of surprised. That was the thing I took from it. But probably for the first 30 minutes, we were as bad as last season in certain moments. For McAllister was horrific. Szoboszlai was horrific. Szoboszlai gave the ball away 4 or 5 times. McAllister was the same. I don't think it helped McAllister with that early booking either, and I don't know why he's been booked there because he's barely touched him. So, another big W there for Michael Oliver and the referees, but we'll take our W in the end. But yeah, horrific, mate.
In terms of the book, and we don't want to focus too much on referees, but somebody, it might have been you actually, said it in the Discord channel. There's just a feeling this season of something's going to happen, and we're going to look back at these early red cards and early yellow cards, and that little bit of perceived victimization from the referees that solidifies teams. The thing that Ferguson was so good at doing at Manchester United for so long, at getting the idea into his players, whether it was true or not, everybody's out to get us, so let's prove them all wrong. That kind of, we almost seem to have that stick 2 fingers up at everybody attitude this season that we didn't have last season, don't we?
Correct me, yeah. You got to have that. Ferguson was great at it. Mourinho, when he first came to Chelsea, was unbelievable at it. He just got his boys and went, they all don't want you to win. They all hate you because of the money kind of thing. And it's us against the world. And that's always been my belief anyway, being from the city and, without getting too political and stuff, but it's us against the world kind of thing. And that's how it comes across. And I feel like the lads can feel hard done by. I said this to you before we kicked off today. The lads at half time there had every excuse under the sun they could have used. Every excuse they had it. It was on a plate. There's your excuses. Go out and run them out if you want to. It was an half-12 kick-off. The lads haven't came back. Kind of a new team still. Kwanzaa was centre-half on a debut. Gomez is right back. All the excuses are there. Go and use them. But no, they decided to dig in and change it up and go, no, we're not taking this anymore. We're not taking these bad decisions. The McAllister can feel hard done by. We're not taking this anymore. This is a different Liverpool team. The manager says in his press conference, this is not year 8, this is year 1. Literally, that's how he's telling this to the boys. Going, this is how we've got to do this. We've won the lot there, and I'd like to win the lot again. And that's how we're going to do this from here on in. So, they've shown me there, the lads, that we can win this league. I genuinely believe that. We're top of the league right now. Why can't we win the league? I've had enough of this, top 4. And top 4 will be a good season. Of course it will. But the lads have showed me a lot there, Mac, where you can go, you know what? Why not?
I'd like to not keep things political at all, but entirely coincidentally, maybe you're old enough like me to remember this show, but I started rewatching GBH with Robert Lindsay, the whole not Derek Hatton, but Derek Hatton show from the mid 90s, I believe it was, late 80s, early 90s. Fantastic show. But yeah, I mean that's what Liverpool is about. There's just Liverpool, the city against the south, essentially, and it's against London, the whole social thing. Plus that, to be fair, from my perspective, that Irish, just stick it up them this, that kind of that, nobody likes us, but we're just going to be annoying and funny with it. That attitude is just, it's reeking out of this current Liverpool team that we didn't see last year. It's literally almost a Shankly team, isn't it?
It's just to make this, the 2 fingers up at the establishment. No one wants Liverpool to win. No one. They don't want us to win. It is what it is, and that's fine, because what we do politically and how we stand up for ourselves and how we don't take things lying down and we don't listen, 95% of most of the people in Liverpool will have a lot of Irish blood in them. That's why, Irish and Liverpool, have always been very close and stuff like that. We see things differently. We react differently to the rest of the country. Everyone was sitting there tuned in, half time there today. The rest of the country going, fucking made up with that. Look at these, Scouse this and Scouse that. I've been there. I've seen it. And it's sitting there now 45 minutes later and they're like, they're back, They're back, they've had one off season and they kicked right on. Look what a few competent midfielders can do. Our midfielders, by the way, today were nothing special. They were nothing special today. And the second half, they were just competent. And look what happens. You win football matches. That's what weren't happening last season. because you never had a competent midfield. So it's brilliant, mate. I'm so happy with that win, honestly, Mac. I can't like stop thinking about this win in me yet, because it feels like now, again, if you're City, if you're United, tough games, by the way, for both of those clubs in the next 10 minutes. I wouldn't want to play Brighton right now, and City going away to West Ham's their hardest game for a while. So let's find out. They would have heard about the score and went, okay, no, not these lads again, kind of thing. So let's keep it up.
I think before we start moving on to performances and stuff like that, I think that's it's an excellent point, because I mean there is a lot of, I mean there is perception sometimes in England that, like, say, the BBC is a very pro Liverpool channel. It's always been very good to Liverpool in terms of European games and televised stuff and getting the right people on. But in general, for American Scousers, for Americans who don't know the culture, there really is an almost animus anti-Liverpool stance from a lot of English media, from a lot of Premier League soccer fans, which is undeserved. And Liverpool has been more or less a positive force for the country and Liverpool Football Club for English soccer. So for people from our side of the Atlantic who understand this situation, it really cannot be emphasized enough that everybody wants us to lose, and we just don't care. As a club, it's fantastic to see that this is like it's almost actually, it's not, I went back too far. It's not Shankly, it's like Kenny Dalglish days.
Yeah.
In the 80s, because nobody wanted Kenny Dalglish to win anything, and he just went and won everything anyway. It was fantastic.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, ever since, of course, the Hillsborough thing, we felt like, especially in the city, we're on our own at this point. Like, no one else cares, no one else, you know what I mean? Without getting too much into it. And it feels like you're on an island anyway. When you're from Liverpool, it doesn't feel like you're from England. You are from Liverpool. For of course, our American friends you're watching. So it does feel like that. You are on your own, and this is like all of us against the world. And our football teams have always, including Everton, have always represented that. It's us against the world. We don't care if you're Barcelona. We don't care if you're Bayern. You show up to our patch, mate. You're going to earn your win. And you're going to work, you know what I mean? Like, that's how it's felt. And that's why we have these miracle moments. Like, only Liverpool can do that. Because it's like, we don't take it lying down. Like today, we don't take that lying down, mate. At our time, when, again, we had all the excuses under the sun. But no, go out there and you fight for it. You have a go. Why not? Why not have a go and fight back? Wolves there, mate, literally were doing rondos basically around us, right? Doing like genuinely in the first half, passing the ball around us. We made Mario Lemina, mate, look like the fucking Claude Makelele in his prime. First half there. Half decent player, Lemina, by the way. I quite like him. But, mate, the way we made him look there, mate, he didn't break a sweat first half. Do you know what I mean? McAllister and Jones couldn't get near him. Szoboszlai couldn't get near him. But we know we went down there. We made a few changes and fought for it. And, of course, it's easier said than done that you get a goal in the first 10 minutes of the second half, and you could see Wolves thinking to themselves, I don't fancy this at all. They've just scored, and then you're bringing Darwin Núñez up. Thanks for that. Appreciate it.
So let's move on to the performances now. One thing, we talk about ballsy substitutions. I think you called it right on McAllister. Probably far too soon for him to be starting a game. And Klopp obviously saw that at half time. And what I liked was, just as kind of a juxtaposition, the television camera showed McAllister at just before the second half, looking a little bit disconsolate, a little bit disappointed that he wasn't starting the second half. Or when he came off, rather, just looking like upset. And then at the end, looking quite happy that we've got the 3 points. It just reminded me of the time Milner got subbed off, if we remember that, and then was arguing with Klopp, and then turned around and he'd score. And then it was like, okay, that's why you're the boss.
It's like, so it reminds me of the time, right, when only at Newcastle, when Diaz gets brought off after the sending off, and he's like, huh? Like, they're confused by it. And then Núñez scores the win, he's on the pitch. And you're like, Diaz is on the pitch, happiest man in the world. And you're like, oh yeah, maybe the manager knows what he's doing, who knows?
Let's bring on Timuchin and let's bring on Trevor. We can discuss that. McAllister comes off, looks upset, but we win the game, and then he looks happy. It really speaks towards a fantastic team spirit at this club that maybe was missing last season, Timuchin, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, winning helps, right? When you're winning, everybody's happy. I don't know how that unfolds because you could see frustration, especially Mo. I think this is the most frustrated I've seen Mo on the right hand side. The beginning of the second half, he just looks like a frustrated character, not getting the balls he wants. But yeah, winning helps, right? It's a good to add those building blocks and then put winning in between as the cement, because it ends up being a lot better than otherwise it just comes crumbling down if you get like a couple of poor results. But yeah, let's be honest, man, I thought we were lucky to get away with this one, but we got away with it, and that's all that matters. You got the 3 points early game. Really, I think Kazi was, we're talking before the match that, it's almost like you're playing half your starters as your starting 11. So get away with that and get the 3 points is huge. But in typical Liverpool fashion, not recommended by doctors, especially early in the goddamn morning.
Trevor, not recommended by doctors, but you were salving the pain of the first half with a few Guinnesses, it looked like, before the game. But well earned at the end of it.
Yeah, not recommended by doctors, but highly recommended by bartenders.
And Irish
this was something where the entire first half, just every single question that we could ask is like, why is this happening? Why is this happening? Why are they here? Was asked. And in the second half, just somehow all the answers slid in, and it was very nice to just get that gratification and see. The one thing that I just want to point out more than anything, Jurgen Klopp made a change at halftime. I came back from the bathroom and I thought I was hallucinating that he had actually taken somebody out at halftime and not at the hour mark. Other than that, just everything in the second half, we'll just forget the first half even happened.
And we're talking about the performances, Cozzy. We talked about McAllister and Jones. Now, I several times during that game thought, is Jones even on the field? Was he invisible, or was he just quietly effective?
No, I think he was poor today, and I'm his biggest fan, but I didn't think he was great at all. But to be fair, I don't think anyone was first half, at least. You know what I mean? Not just him. And I know we kind of single him out a little bit because he gets, a bit unjust sometimes criticism. But I thought second half he was a lot better. I thought he kept the ball well, especially when we took the lead. For that last 5-8 minutes there, I thought he really kept the ball well, especially. So, but yeah, I thought they were all poor, mate. We just didn't get close to anyone. I just felt like they were just doing little passes around us and stuff. And it looked like shades of last season when the midfield just couldn't run. Again, I mentioned it before, I think the manager's super naive to start McAllister. I really do. Playing 50 hours ago in Bolivia and then starting him in this game when you had...
Fucking 0-2 on the ride home.
Exactly, mate. And you had Endo and Bisesic and even Gravenberch if you wanted to force it. For the manager. And he probably realised he made a mistake himself. He's probably the first one to admit he made a mistake doing the start there, because that's why he gets farmed off at half time. But again, I was going on to Trevor's point, the manager's made 3 changes by the 52nd minute. Like, literally, he scores and 3 changes, you know what I mean? So the manager realises as well, and I think the manager kind of knows as well, like, hey, we have half a chance here. Arsenal line up to their usual standard of last year. You know what I mean? I think we have the best attack in Europe to get the best goalkeeper in the world. So why not?
Did you guys think it was odd, by the way? I mean, they even mentioned it. Usually, most managers, when you get your subs ready to come in. I mean, how many times have we seen it? And the team scores, and you're like, okay, hold off. Let's see what's happening here. I was kind of shocked that he kind of went with it, and I was more shocked that it happened on the 52nd. Like, why not in the 40? Something was said at halftime, and it didn't change as far as Klopp was concerned. So he made the change anyway. That goal was just icing on the cake, but he did not like what he was seeing, so that change happened. I was shocked that he kept with that change and did another double substitution afterwards.
I suppose what I thought about that, mate, I think he probably thought to himself, I don't want to change it too much right now in case Wolves go out and have a Big Ten, and we're still trying to work it out. We're still trying to work out who's playing where and who's doing what kind of thing. So I thought he must have thought, I'll give them 5 to 7, see how Wolves come out and react. We've got the goal, and he thought, you know what, I may as well, while the foot's on the gas, let's really go for it. That's the only thing I can actually think of, Tim, because sometimes I know managers like to make a point by subbing someone within the first 5 minutes of the second half to go, I'm going to embarrass you kind of thing because you're coming off now. That's what, when Mourinho used to love to do that, and those kind of Conte managers, they used to love going 47th minute, you're coming off. to embarrass you in front of everyone else. But I just feel like he probably thought, let's just do that change now. Let the lads work it out. This is where everyone's playing, and when I do these subs in 10 minutes, let's see where Wolves are at, then go from there, I think.
Yeah, I think I think it was just coincidental that Gakpo was one of the guys coming off, because I think it was his thing to, like Kazi said, get that first 5-7 minutes where just kind of get the rangefinder with Wolves, and then just unleash the two Tasmanian Devils of Nunez and Elliott, and just kind of go, all right, now you guys are gonna make them work. And it just so happened that Gakpo scored 4 seconds before, and it was kind of just bad timing.
Let's talk about Gakpo a second there. He played against Ireland midweek, which was essentially a training game with this current Ireland national team. It's not the best. But he was not great at all in the game, despite the goal. Is there still a period of adjustment for Gakpo now that he's going to be looking to be the main man in that sort of creative role?
Oh, man.
I think it's a little unfair on him too, because I think it would be a different scenario if he had Diaz on the left starting up.
Yeah.
Because Jota had like a pretty darn poor game as well.
Yeah.
I think Gakpo would be a lot more effective if he can drop back and see the wings and have Diaz on one wing and, Mo on the other. So I think he was kind of in some ways set up to fail. And you could see when we went to that 4-2-4-ish thing, everybody was a little confused. Like it felt like it's like there are way too many of us up here kind of thing. Like people were running into each other and stuff. But I think Gakpo, I mean, he'll get his confidence back. I think there's a lot of these Europa games and stuff like that. He'll get his opportunities, and I think he'll get his confidence back. But I think we would have seen a lot better Gakpo if Diaz had started on the left.
Yes. I feel like for Gakpo personally, I think he'd love to go, I'd love to have Salah, Diaz, myself, and Szoboszlai and McAllister behind me for 90 minutes. I think he'd love to do that and go, can I just have one of those games, please? Where I can have those lads around me. McAllister further forward, where he can pick me a pass, and Szoboszlai doing the same stuff. I think he's been a bit unlucky because of circumstantial, really. Like, I think he starts up front against Newcastle, and then, of course, it all goes to pot with the sending off kind of thing, and he's playing weird roles. And so he hasn't really played that 9 with the other boss lads around him. So as soon as he gets that, we'll find out what he's about again, kind of thing. But the goal's going to help.
Does it also show, by the way, when we don't have Diaz, that left side suffers? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you out.
I mean, yeah. Because
okay.
Yeah, I think Liverpool need opposite feet kind of guys cutting in with pace, with Diaz's pace cutting in on his right. When Jota plays out there, that's why I'd always prefer Darwin out there. Then I would Jota out there on the left. I know that, you know what I mean, just because of pace alone. So it does kind of suffer. And because Jota comes really narrow, doesn't he? I feel like to get involved with the game. And he comes really narrow. We lose a lot of width. And then that also doesn't help Andy Robertson when he's getting counted on consistently. Do you know what I mean? I think if Gary O'Neill probably missed the trick, he should have swapped Neto and put Neto on Robertson while Jota was still kind of on the pitch. And after Liverpool kind of scored, I know, but for 7 or 8 minutes, they're getting very narrow. Same with Diaz, came quite narrow towards the end and let Neto have a run at Robertson on his own because no one was tracking back. No one was coming back.
Yeah.
So let's go back, like in terms of the feeling from us supporters. Let's see if everybody else had the same feeling I did. Alisson didn't really put a foot wrong in the game, but was anybody else reaching for the hard tablets every time he had the ball at his feet? Because it seemed like he was trying to do one of those little Roberto Firmino back flicks almost every time he received a back pass.
Yeah, and especially that one time with probably, I think it was like 20 minutes to go, where he came out and he was doing little like shimmies, and he was probably like 20 yards outside the box before he finally kicked the ball. I go, if somebody just comes in as he's like doing his dance floor, his best wedding dance floor impression, and take the ball off him, we're going to get that red card that we predicted on Thursday, and Alisson is going to like just absolutely be in shambles. Granted, that didn't happen. Crisis averted. But it's one of those things where, just sometimes just act like you're a field goal kicker and just hoof the fucking ball up front, please.
We talked about this before we went on air, me and Cosby, but let's give him the props where they are due because he is due them. Kwanzaa was, for a young player on his first Premier League start, was absolutely superb in context, wasn't he, Timuchin?
Yeah, I mean, really, you could argue that he was our best player the first half, right? I mean, easily, because he was calm on the ball when he had it. I mean, he kind of like filled in a lot of spots where, you know, he was able to slide over and cover for Matip, cover for Robertson and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, I thought he had like an excellent game, really. I hope his injury, or I don't know if it was just like he's not used to playing that many minutes at a Premier League pace, so he started cramping up. I hope it's just like cramping up kind of a deal, because yeah, we might have something there. I mean, I know it's too early, it's one game and it's Wolves, but he has the pace, and more than that, he has that calmness that you don't always get with young players. Even when he was cutting balls off, a couple of them, like, he played for safety, but a lot of them he was able to put back in play. And to me, like, for a good center back, that's the key. You can have Dawson kick the ball away. Most center backs can do that, but not a lot of center backs. I thought that was Van Dijk's biggest strength. Like, you know, when he first came over, any ball he brought down, like he headed away, he put it back into play. It was to Robertson. It was to like Fabinho and stuff like that. That's what I really like seeing out of Kwanzaa, to be honest with you, is how many times instead of just he cut off the attack and put the ball into play right away in transition game. Yeah, I mean, excellent, man. Excellent. I think we were all worried, right, before the game in the pre-match. And he was the least of our worries.
Very much so.
Talking about he certainly cut the balls off the Wolves' attack because he was really good. But is it a case that, you know, he knew he was going, maybe talked to beforehand, you're going to get this start and then we'll rest you a bit, and then that gave him the confidence to give it his all? Or are we looking at, and I hate to be the old guy here, but are we looking at another Rob Jones who just comes onto the scene and is just fantastic from day one? But this time, let's fingers crossed, hope he doesn't get a career-ending injury 2 years into it.
Yeah, I mean, for Kwanzaa, mate, I feel like it helps when the managers give you the confidence, of course, but Liverpool and City do this as well. We kind of cheat. So we play our centre-halves on the halfway line and say, the best thing you can do for us is win the ball back and keep the pressure on. And that's what I was super impressed with the most, especially in the second half. I thought he won the ball back a lot because his recovery pace. Because there's also, you know, and so basically that keeps the pressure on for us. Because he just won the ball back and give it to Robbo, give it to Szoboszlai, and then he just kept the pressure right on, which of course caused Wolves to buckle. Because Liverpool are allowed to do that because you've got a great keeper behind you. That's the difference. And he's probably the best. He is the best keeper in the world, but he's also the best keeper in the world at one-on-ones. Because he just saves Liverpool millions of points. That's why I always think with Liverpool, XG is a bit of a myth. It's a myth because you've got that keeper behind you. He just throws XG out the window because you get
to be fair, he gets a lot of practice being a Liverpool goalkeeper.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but we're allowed to do that, aren't we? We are allowed to do that. So, but what he did allow him as well, which I think is the key, he knew he could. He had a get-out clause with Konate. I think if Konate's not there, you might have seen like a bit more of a nerve in him. Like you go, well, I have to play 90 minutes here and I have to perform. But when Konate's behind, he probably kind of knew himself that he was probably never going to play the full 90. If Liverpool are winning 3-4-0, Konate was getting minutes. Liverpool are winning 2-1, Konate was getting minutes. Either way, he was going to come on that pitch. So, super impressed with him. He probably won't play a Premier League game now for all season. Let's get it right, he probably won't. But he'll play every single probably Europa League game and League Cup game. He's probably going to play against Lask and Leicester in the next week.
Yeah.
Trevor, we were all on Discord despairing at the performance. And then the changes are made, and Núñez and Diaz on the same field as Mo Salah. And then let's not forget, he's really coming into his own as a chaos agent, Harvey Elliott as well. As a Wolves defender, you must hate seeing that. You must think, oh, come on, we had a chance at 1-1. We had a chance at 2-1. But, you know, let's just pack up and go home away for Christmas now at this point.
Yeah, and the most poignant I'd say still from the NBC team was after, I think it was like a second straight corner, they just showed divorced dad Craig Dawson, and he was just so distraught after dealing with seemingly no tribulation for the first half, and then Elliot and Nunez comes on, and he is immediately having to do wind sprints.
Yeah.
But not only, but like doing them in triangles. And he was just absolutely done. He was just so fucking over it. And it was beautiful to see everybody that we talk about these guys, and a lot of people take it as like a negative, like agents of chaos. It's not in terms of, oh, they don't know what they're doing, they just run around like a bunch of 6-year-olds. It's guys that come on with pace. It's guys that come on with intent to run at you. And that's something that tired center backs hate. And going back to Kwanzaa just for 1 second, I think he's going to get a lot of time as what I'd like to call a backline closer, because imagine if you have a guy with Konate's pace that you can bring on for the final 20 minutes and you don't have to use Joel Matip, the mummified corpse, in that role. I think that's huge for him, and he will get more minutes than we think. But back to the front line, Harvey, I think he has, as we said after the Newcastle game, Darwin had to get a start for that. Harvey's got to get a start in like the next 3 games just to really like give him that gold star for what he's doing as a substitute.
Tamucha, this will be a common thread for both of us, stretching back to the early days of when he started. But we talked a lot about, time and time again, Nunez not getting the pressing. But it doesn't seem to be an issue anymore. It seems to have clicked finally, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think he's getting more and more into it. And I think he kind of brings the intensity in everybody else. And that's what I really like about it. I mean, you got that, for example, there are a lot of play. I mean, we were talking about Jones earlier. I thought he did that a lot. Some of the times when we were not pressing at all, you saw an aggressive press start from Jones. Yeah. But nobody else really followed that. Like, you know, he would just sprint to a ball, but then they would just pass it and the other guy was not sprinting. I almost feel like Nunez drags everybody with him. Maybe it's because it's further up the pitch and everybody feels like if we win the ball there, we're in danger right away. We're going to create something. But, you know, when he was pressing, I think with him and Diaz, their aggressiveness, and obviously Elliot chases the ball a lot as well, makes Mo chase the ball a lot more. And I thought he was able to, it enables like Jones and Szoboszlai and stuff to pick up those loose balls and like kind of like start an attack right away. But yeah, I mean, it's a huge improvement with him. I think it's just the way he goes at people puts a scare, just his pace and physicality. Yeah. And he does some clumsy fouls and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a huge improvement compared to what we talked about. I mean, I think one thing we saw today is, you know, we've been talking about the ideal 11 and, you know, like what is our best 11 and stuff like that. But I think, and, you know, if I'm saying this, you got to figure he's gone leaps and bounds ahead. But I feel like, you know, you kind of put Nunez up there in the middle now with Diaz on left and Mo on right. And I think that's, and I'm not just saying because of today's game or like recent games, but I think that's undoubtedly your best starting 11 front line is probably those 3 right now.
Yeah.
Cozzy, we talked about Robbo before we went on air, but I said on the Discord channel, as soon as he got that ball and made that pass and started that run, I had a funny feeling he was going to get on the end of it, and if he got on the end of it, it was going in the back of the net, and he did. You couldn't have, I mean, just in terms of the time put in at Liverpool and the success he's had, you couldn't wish for a better goal for a nicer player from Scotland today, could you?
I mean, the relief in the celebration is not that he's probably scored the winner. It's probably because how bad he was for the first goal.
Yeah.
He probably knew himself. He was like, I've had a nightmare there, you know. I've had an absolute... He looked at Hwang and he still let him do it. So, you know what I mean? That was a favourite part. Like, I can laugh at it now. At the time, at least 4:37 in the morning, I'm going to smash the house up. But it was
he was like, you got this, right? Because I'm not getting it. You're going to tap this in? Like, you just
look at him and goes, okay, he's there. Then lets the ball go across. So, yeah. It's like, so, I'm made up for the mate because, listen, we all probably think about Robbo. We probably should get more goals anyway because he does find themselves in these positions. What I liked about that there, because you guys are definitely not watching us all the time, he usually takes a ball on the right foot all the time, some shots, and you're like, just let the ball come across your body, which he did today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He takes a lot of shots with his right foot, and I'm like, bro, your right foot's for standing.
That's going sky high if he hits that with the right.
Exactly. But because you showed a bit of calmness and a bit of patience, which is amazing. I do want to mention, though, because I feel like if we don't mention it, it'll kill me. Joe Gomez pulling back Pedro Neto on that counter attack is the best piece of defending I've seen since Bobby Moore. It's the best piece of defending I've seen in my whole life. He literally waits for Michael Oliver and just goes, "Yeah, you're going nowhere," on the counter attack in the centre half. The commentators are up in the air. See what Joe Gomez has done? And you're like, yeah, that's a great piece of defending, in my opinion. Well done, Joe. I know you got destroyed by him all game, but for that little 10 seconds, Joe, you couldn't have been anywhere better in the world. Amazing.
In terms of the substitutions, it was just a funny thing to see Klopp going so early. And I think we talked postseason last year about, he has to make some change. He has to adapt to the way the game goes. And with the 5 subs, he has to start thinking about using them tactically rather than just as leg savers. Trevor, it was today just the desperation throw of the dice, or is this a brave new world for Jurgen Klopp in terms of making changes to affect the game when they need to be made?
Yeah, I don't want to take that cannonball into the deep end too quickly, because I think that the McAllister sub was one of pure, like, Gaffer, I'm gonna fucking die if you leave me on this pitch right now.
Brighton just scored. Yeah, I was like,
Brighton just scored. Yeah,
it's not Evan Ferguson. I put him in my FPL lineup, and I'm still salty about it. So I don't care. Yeah. But yes, that's a necessary reaction. But either way, I think it's something where he's really coming around to just utilizing his assets. And now that he has guys on the bench that can play roles and can come in and he can change the shape of his formation accordingly to the people that he's bringing in, rather than just sling him in and go, you just go do whatever. It's a 74th minute. Go tackle a guy if you want. Instead of just having those haphazard substitutions, now they're coming in waves that have a purpose. And I think that's going to be huge. As you know, Mr. Cheer for the sub guy over here is really, I think that's going to be great in our development of these young kids coming through and keeping some of these guys that are going to have to play 3 times a week fresh.
Yeah, I think I want to follow on for that, Mac, right? This is his deepest squad he's ever had, in my opinion.
Yeah. In his career.
Probably, yeah. His Dortmund squad wasn't as deep as we'd like, but as he would like at least. But especially at Liverpool, this is his deepest squad. And he's got lads now we can trust. I can trust these lads. These are my lads. And the Keita Oxlade-Chamberlain thing, we used to always make jokes about Keita, not getting game. It's because he couldn't trust them. He couldn't trust them not to break down on them. You know what I mean? I can't trust you in certain moments, where now we can trust these lads. He does have more. This is, again, of course, Salah, Mane, and Firmino, unbelievable. Our 4th choice was Divock Origi. As much as we loved Divock Origi, that was his 4th choice striker for a long time. Now it's not. Now we have depth where you go 5 lads could start for Liverpool and no one would care which 5 it is, and which is nice to have. I think that's why we're going to see a lot more from the manager in certain cases with his subs, where he can look at his bench and go, yeah, I've got 5 or 6 options here which can change the game.
I don't know. Today, I think, it was more desperation. I mean, let's face it, Leo and Stitch were like, hey, man, if you're going to get any snacks today, we got to make some subs. So I think anybody who was looking at the game probably knew that. Yeah. But I think in terms of overall, he's a lot more aggressive and he's going to put those guys in. And like Kazi says, I think he has the option. So there is, I guess, in some ways, no excuse. I mean, you're looking at that squad today. I was about to post it, but then I kind of went on air. But you look at City's lineup today and you look at City's bench for all the money they spend and for all the talk we have, they buy anybody they want. Our bench right now looks a lot better than the City bench. I didn't see anybody who can come off the bench and make an impact. So a couple of injuries really damaged that team. Not that I would wish injuries, but he has a lot of options. He has a lot of quality. And he's using them. Today was more of desperation, but I think even in other games, we kind of started seeing people come in a bit earlier the key now is how we use Europa to get some more minutes in everybody's legs and how we go about it.
So just to keep on that depth thing, and in terms of the bench, Timuchin, and then for Cozzy and Trevor, if you're Thiago and you're watching these performances so far this season, are you thinking, I got to give my agent a call because I'm not getting back into this team?
I don't think so. I think, he becomes Milner. I think he comes in a game where...
Yeah, but Milner was always
Villa
fit.
Game.
Yeah.
I mean, he comes in the Villa game the last 20 minutes, rolls the ball around his ankles, kind of spreads the ball, controls the pace. He leads the gang of young kids against, in like the League Cup, maybe in some Europa games and stuff like that. When I say Milner, I mean in that role where he's kind of like the older, mature dude that says, okay, boys, let's go do this kind of a thing, and like takes people, like leads people onto the field kind of thing, and maybe he's like the captain on those games and stuff. And let's face it, we don't know how many minutes he can handle anyway. So I think you use him sparingly. You use him to control the pace of the games and kind of go about it that way. But I think he gets minutes mainly because we don't know what we're going to get from Basetic yet, I guess.
Yeah.
But we also have Gravenberch now, who made his debut. Obviously, you weren't expecting anything from him. But he could have always had a goal there at the end, which would have been a dream start to his career. We can't say anything about him because we didn't see enough of him. But the fact that at 3-1 up, when you could have just seen the game out, he was trying to get on that score sheet. Trevor, that boded well for the future a little bit, at least mentally, if not technically and tactically, didn't it?
Yeah. Seeing Gravenberch get some minutes and get in those positions and not immediately. Oh, yeah, I think I'm dead.
See you later.
I think I've crapped the bed. Bye.
Bye, mate. Mate, the Gravenberch, I get your Thiago argument, right, Matt? I do. What I would say is we signed him to be a luxury player, and what he now becomes is a luxury player. We signed him for certain moments in games, as Timuchin said. We've signed him for certain games, I think. Would I have any issue with starting him against City at all? No, because I think he can break down defences with these little kind of in top games. Who's played, by the way, Thiago, in big football matches.
Yeah.
Like ginormous football matches. So I feel like that's what he becomes to Jurgen. He gives him that option. I will see Thiago probably still get 12, 15 starts this season. Because overall, in the Premier League at least, I think he starts all the cup games and stuff like that for the fitness and whatnot, what have you. But he just gives us another option. Not one player in our midfield, as much as we love our midfield right now, has the ability of Thiago. Not one, in my opinion. So I feel like he does get his minutes. Where does he start? What I found interesting actually was in Klopp's press conference. He mentioned Basetic about coming back again from his injury. I'm like, he's been on the bench for a month.
Yeah, he keeps saying that, and I'm like, he's there. Like,
no, because he just keeps showing up and sitting on the bench, and Jürgen just names him. And he's like, oh, Stefan came along for the ride. And he's like, does Peplin just write his name down? And then he go like,
is it just a filler? Like there's like an empty chair.
Is it possible? Is it possible he doesn't mention him because he doesn't know how to pronounce his name properly and he's embarrassed about it? And now he's learned.
He keeps like in the press that he was literally asked both injuries. Oh yeah, Basetic is doing a lot more running and he's involved. And I'm like, he's been on the bench since like Bournemouth. What the fuck is going on with this kid? But anyway, I don't know.
That's so funny you say, because I've been thinking the same thing. I'm like, dude, what the hell is he talking about? Like, am I looking at I literally had to go back and check the bench a couple of times. I'm like, wasn't he on the squad? Like he keeps saying that. Yeah, he was.
I keep saying, get him on the pitch. I don't even think Jürgen knows he's there. I just think it's a typo that gets like printed out, like on like the LFC website with the team, and just get the typo and no one's took him out. But, I mean,
let me ask you guys this, by the way. Do you think, like, for example, Thiago would come in today, for example, maybe instead of an Elliott?
Yeah. No, I think he would have done him over McAllister if he's fit. I genuinely think.
True.
Because he likes Thiago in the six, whether we like it or not. But Thiago actually done pretty well and towards the end of last season in the six as well. At times, alongside the Trent and Fabinho thing. I think he would have done him for McAllister because I think he trusts Thiago. But mate, I know we're going to wrap this up in a minute, but I think this is a massive win. I said it before, Tim. I don't know if you were online, but Liverpool had all the excuses under the sun today. It's 12:30. Players never came back. Kwanzaa's debut, Gomez right back, injuries, Virgil, but we never took them. And we went out there and showed that we can dig in and win football matches again. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's massive. And again, if you're United, lovely losing, and if you're City, you look at it and go, fucking hell, they're back, you know. They're back.
Yeah.
A statement thing of like, fuck, I don't want... The last thing Pep Guardiola wants in his life is Liverpool on his neck. It's the last thing he wants. He says it all the time. It's his biggest ever challenge in his career was Liverpool. And he does not want us on his neck. So I'm super pleased, mate, and I genuinely think we could win this league.
So before we wrap up, then on that note, there is that trope of champions win games they're not supposed to win.
Yeah.
They find a way and they win when they're playing badly. We haven't played fantastically well for most of the games this season, or we played fantastically well in sports, but the overall games haven't been hugely dominant, and yet we're still pulling wins out of our backside. I said at the start, it just feels like there's something special about the season to me, doesn't it? Just we'll look back at this part and we'll go, that's where it started. It didn't start with the 10-game run that we won and beat City and beat United. It started when we couldn't put two passes together and we still beat Wolves, and we couldn't put two passes together and we still beat Bournemouth, etc., etc. There's a grit and a heart about this team that we really missed last year. But it almost reminds you of when we did win the league and when we did win the Champions League.
While I don't agree for today's game. Honestly, I don't. I don't see this as grit. I see it as getting away with it because you're playing against Wolves. And it's a team like, I mean, the only other game I watched Wolves was the United game, and it was the same exact thing. They could have probably had like 5 goals, and they can't get out of their own way to basically score. Today's game should hopefully finally give a team a warning that you can't always start like shit and then hope to recover afterwards. We do it over and over and over again. The Newcastle game, yes. Even the Bournemouth game, yes, because it was, poor start, but at least it was the first 10 minutes and stuff. So it's good to get these points because we know when we play against better teams, or it's a bigger game, we start with more focus. We start better. We play better. These are the games that we always like, the peel games that we always like freaking, trip over and lose points on. So I think it was important to react and get 3 points. I am still concerned though, because let's face it, if you lose points today, we would all say, you know what, that happens once, that happens twice. You're not going to always get away with it, is what we would be probably talking about. At least most people would. But like going back to what you're saying, it's all about getting the 3 points, especially these games. I mean, Wolves away has always been tough. To go there with all those negative things that are going on, which I really think we kind of bring upon ourselves too. They mentioned in the broadcast, and I think that's part of it. If you go all week saying, "Oh, people are going to be tired," then this is how you start. Yeah. So shut up, everybody. In 2 hours, McAllister is not like a brand new person. You know what I mean? It's not like it takes them an extra 2 hours to get back to it. It was going to be the same thing. These guys are all playing right now. What, they got an extra 2 hours rest? I mean, you got to plan accordingly, whatever you got to do. But despite all that going against with no Van Dijk, no Trent, you're like a whole makeshift back line, you still get the 3 points is huge. So I'll agree to that. But I don't see this game as grit for the most part, to be honest with you.
I think I do.
Do you not think that though? Do you not think that grit? Look, because I just like, we always think of grit as like we're playing a better team and we somehow manage to fight through it. But sometimes the other opponent is yourself, and some teams give up and they just say, we're having a crap day, and they lose anyway, or they fight through it, they turn it around, and then it is only Wolves, as you say, but and for Cosy as well. Like, do you not think that this time last year at 1-0 down, we may have crapped the bed and just sort of given up 3/4 of the way through the game?
Liverpool get battered 3-4-0. Last year, you just get battered, and that's how it is. But as Dimitri said, I think this is the key part of the win. 3 out of 4 of those defenders do not start for us. And it's all makeshift. It's all just getting through. I think the reason why this is so massive, we know that centre. Yeah, the best way I can describe it is that back 4 that started today will never start another Liverpool game again.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, exactly.
Never start another game again. They will not. So we got through it. And sometimes, by the way, and again, Liverpool have really fought for this. Sometimes Wolves can just play really well. Sometimes they just play well and they just play good football. And sometimes you just can't get going. Yes, should we react better? 100%. But sometimes you just can't get going. You get the early goal and you kind of think everything can go against you. But again, with the starting 11 and how it worked out and how we've won the game, the goal scorer as well in Gakpo, with Robertson as the captain, getting a winning goal. It just feels like if something special happens this season, we'll all look back at that game and go, remember we had that Kwanzaa starting centre-half? Yeah. Genuinely, he will probably not start another Premier League game, which is insane to say. So, super pleased, mate. You know, Tim, I want to ask you a question before we go. Do you believe we can win the league?
I think so. It really depends on what City does, though, doesn't it? I mean, if they go on their, can't be stopped kind of a thing, I don't know if we can keep up with that pace. But if you have them dropping points here and there, I think this team has the depth to go with it. The Europa draw definitely helps because I feel like it's really kind of like a cake group. So you can really rotate a lot and have no issues. I think so. I think we'll challenge for it. And that's why these 3 points are huge, because these are points you would normally see this team drop and then try to catch back up in January when City really gets rolling and wins 14 in a row and stuff. So,
well, Mark, I'll ask you the same question, but I always say, well, if Liverpool are going to win this league, you have to beat City twice. You have to go there and win.
I agree.
You need to take the best.
I always think we're going to win the league.
Yeah.
I thought we were going to win the league. I thought we were going to win the league under Roy Hodgson. No, I'm only kidding. I didn't go that far.
But I mean, I feel
wait, is that a goal?
You too. Don't. I'm behind.
West Ham 1-0.
Oh my God. 0-2. Do you believe we can win the league now, baby?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the goal, baby. With City, man, I don't start celebrating till the 85th minute or so.
James Ward-Prowse, what a goal swing that man has got. What a goal swing. It's fucking brilliant.
So, on that nice, happy note, before we go, who will be the most disappointed with Liverpool's win today? Will it be Pep Guardiola? Will it be every single other non-Liverpool fan in England? Or will it be Paul Tierney?
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
Paul was probably upset he didn't get a chance to do anything. He was like, I was all geared up. I had all the buttons and couldn't do anything with it.
Paul Tierney's sitting there in his VAR, talking to the assistant going, Joe, if I was there now. If I was there, I would have sent McAllister off. That's a straight red. I reckon he was going to Oliver when he booked McAllister to take a look at that. And he's like, you could have made a mistake on the yellow. Just send it off.
He almost broke his shoulder there. Dangerous play.
I told him he's got him in an arm bar. I seen that in the UFC last week. I can't believe it.
I think it just remains to be said to everybody to thank you for watching pre-match and post-match, and make sure you're liking and subscribing to the YouTube, to the Facebook, to the Twitter, and join our Discord chats where you can see the madness unfold before any of these shows, and then you can confirm that we are all a bit 3 sandwiches short of a picnic at American Scouser TV, but that's why we love us. And just big thanks to Tamuch, and big thanks to Cozzy and Trevor as well before his phone crapped the bed. But a great day for us so far, and let's hope it continues to be a great weekend. The Monday podcast will be on. The Monday morning coffee will be on next week. Make sure you join us for that. And just remains to say, let's get Cozzy back to bed after this game, because it's about 2 a.m. where he is, and then we need to get on with our weekends. So we will see everybody then. Take care. Peace out.